Hey everyone, Gary Lopez here for Leo Quan, who's a badass. I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to speak to Mr. Eric Fortaleza. Eric is an Australian-born, multi-talented bass player who over the past 10 years has made a significant impact in the music community in Nashville and really over the country. I caught up with Eric literally in a van driving to a gig at Floyd Fest, pretty large festival with his band. And so he is on the road as we do this interview. So hope you enjoy it. Here's the interview. Hey man,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good.
Are
We
you?
are we are mid running around just pre-tour. We're Nashville based, and we are heading to Virginia, Roanoke.
Well, thanks again, Eric Fortaleza, for joining us today on Who's a Badass. We're really excited to have you here. Um, I wanted to have you on the show for a number of reasons, but mainly because I really love how you created your own kind of unique pathway to success. And I think it'd be inspiring for some musicians to kind of hear your story. So, if you don't mind, we'll start right at the beginning, if that's good for you.
Sure. Well, I was.
Why the bass guitar?
It's one of those instruments that I always tell people that it picked me rather
Really?
than rather than me picking it. Like in high school, a few buddies just started picking up acoustic guitar. There's four of us. One sang, one played guitar well, and then one day, one of my buddies, his dad bought a drum kit, and it all started. I was like, well, I guess the only thing left is a bass.
Nice. So, how old are you at that time when you started
I
playing?
was 16 at that time. I started pretty late comparatively. Um, yeah, I was a late starter on the instrument, so that was like 16 years old.
Yeah, you caught up very quickly, apparently.
Well, YouTube is great because there's no excuse anymore. You have access to every single everything. You have
Right.
access to everything that exists on the internet.
Very true. I think I've got a few
And
years on you. So when I was playing, it was literally putting a needle on a record player.
I
So yeah,
remember I still hear stories of people like recording the radio
right.
and then just taping it back and then going back and forth. Like, that's how that song goes.
That's it. Necessity, the mother of all invention, right?
That's
So
right.
yeah. So when you were playing in your neighborhood band there, what kind of music were you influenced by? What
Well,
you just picked up the bass? It must have been some people that kind of made you say, "Yeah, I want to do that," or
well,
inspired you.
around that time, the 2006. So, yeah, hold on. That's right. That's around
All right.
that era. So I'm showing my age. But around that time, mid 2000s. I think when you type in bass guitar on YouTube and who the best is,
Mm,
and if like as a young kid, you don't really understand that it's all subjective. You just think fastest
mm,
is the best.
hmm.
And around that time, the loudest music that was happening, at least in pop culture, was still Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
Flea is just the man. Flea
Right.
hasn't. Can you imagine how many bass players Flea inspired throughout the
Incredible.
years? But
Right.
yeah, so
Incredible.
it was him because he was just the most dynamic. He was like the fastest through the whole. Like you just like oh. And YouTube was just building up around that time when now at least kids at my age were able to like at least living. I was living in Sydney, Australia at the time, Western Sydney, Australia, and drum bass DVDs, drum DVDs, the guitar DVDs. People would just post those on YouTube.
Great.
So I never, being a young kid who couldn't afford to buy a DVD, I was just like, oh, I can just listen to these lessons.
It's
I can
fantastic.
listen to these lessons on uh, on YouTube, and that was
Right.
just me watching Flea's bass lessons, and I'm just like watching him just slap away. But that kind of really pushed that inspiration because that made me go, in my head at least at that time, was faster is better. But by chasing that, eventually
No,
that's
of
not the
course. Of course. I can
but
tell by your playing that's not the approach you eventually took, but
but chasing that allowed me to go,
right.
oh, okay. I at least have the dexterity and capacity to be able to. But the ultimate thing, the ultimate bass player that made me, how do I explain this? Because I told him, when I finally met this bass player, I told him, hey man, just letting you know, I from my whole life I've been trying to be like you, but by failing to be like you, it helped me get a career. And
Yeah.
that was the same day that I got Pino Palladino to sign.
Oh my goodness.
To
Wow.
sign, I have the Pino Palladino custom shop
Oh,
P-Bass,
beautiful. Yeah,
and I asked him to sign it. It's fading away, but it's still there.
that is fantastic. Now, where'd you meet him?
It was a festival in Sydney, Australia, where he
Hmm.
was playing. He was playing with D'Angelo at
Oh,
that time,
yep.
and I was playing with an artist that was in the same stage, but opening.
Hmm.
But yeah, but that guy's the man. That guy's the
Yeah,
man.
that's
That
just great. That's fantastic. Now, aside from YouTube, did you have any formal training at all?
I studied at a college in Sydney called James C. Academy of Music. I studied that for 3 years on
Hmm.
bass guitar,
Hmm.
and 10 years of pursuing music in Sydney pretty much led me here to Nashville, Tennessee.
Was there any particular genres? I know I went to Berkeley for a little bit, and of course, at that time when I went, it was all jazz. There was nothing really much else. Was there specific genre or something you were working on, or just overall reading, playing?
The college course is bachelor music performance on bass guitar. But
Yep.
my teacher, Philip Scorgi, Australian bass player, really pushed me into jazz, to Jaco,
Mm.
to every, to that.
Mm.
That music was the one that made me go, oh, bass, bass can handle that.
Right.
I'm just I'm packing all my, before
For the
I
for
get
those
out.
folks for the folks who don't know, Eric is playing at the Floyd Fest. It's a huge festival in case you haven't heard of it before. So he's in the middle of he's been so kind to take his time now. He's packing up for that show. So look at these beautiful basses. You got quite a collection there, my friend. That is really nice.
Let me flip it over so you guys.
That's right. Yes, that
So
is good.
1963 P bass.
Mm.
And I was like, how can I make this better? A little
Wow.
bit of the focuser, a
Yeah,
badass
it's
too.
beautiful. That's
And
great.
I was like, and a custom shop 1960 jazz bass, stack knob.
Oh yeah,
Um, with that thing going on.
that's beautiful. What
That was me, by the way. That was all
that,
me.
yeah, that's great. I love to see the road worn by yourself. That's the best. What led you into the badass? Just while you're showing the bridge, I was
Well,
asking that.
when I first got into bass in college, I just upgraded everything on my instruments. It made me go, what's the best pickups? What's the best this? What's the best this? This is talkbass.com,
Mm.
if you remember.
So you found
But
a significant difference in tone when you put that on there?
what really won me over, actually, his name is Bobby Vega.
Yes.
And I had a lesson with him in San Francisco one year.
Wow.
And he had his stack knob jazz bass
Mm.
that just felt so good.
Mm.
And I was like, this feels so good. What is it? And they go, it's just a jazz bass it's just a jazz bass. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing special
Mm.
to it. Just a jazz bass. It didn't change the pickups. It didn't change the preamp. It's all
Mm.
stock. The only thing that wasn't stock was, of course, this vintage badass that he had on there.
Right
And
on.
I was like, maybe that's where the secret
That's
is.
right. That's
um,
great.
but ever since then, when I changed, and I was like, which ones should I change to? And then I was like, well, what about my main ones? If my number one P bass, my number one jazz bass. And I was worried because I have a master built of that same 63 P bass.
Mm. You have a
And I was
preference
like,
between the two? The
no,
string
original
spacing.
always.
The string spacing on the uh, jazz preferable to the P, or is it really you're comfortable in both?
No, like I'm a big believer of the instrument dictates and tells you how to play itself.
Hmm.
You know, like I'm not a. It always has to be the same
Mm.
because a P bass will make you play differently,
Hmm.
and a jazz bass will make you play differently.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever call, I'm sure as a guitarist, if when you have a strat in your hand, it'll make you play differently. Like I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's actually what I ask most bass players that I'm a fan of. If I ever get a chance to meet them in person, I go, "What's the percentage or ratio of the bass telling you what to play or you telling the bass what to play. Who is it? Who decides?
Right.
But because to me, the moment I have a P bass with flat wounds, that's you play like this.
Right.
Or if I have a jazz bass with like rounds and then like with that badass, it just like, to me, I just remember the sustained change. If I could tell, like tone wise, obviously timbre is the same. But the thing that changed for me the moment I added those bridges was like something about the breath just opened up a tiny bit. And to me, I felt that was in the sustain. My favorite marketing tactic that Fender did was with the Fender Custom Shop. They had a line, when you're ready.
When you're ready. Right.
When you're ready. And then another cable company. I just remember these I just remember these different marketing campaigns, and another one called Analysis Plus, which is this cable company. They had a really ballsy marketing slogan, and it was if you can't tell the difference, you probably don't need one.
That's a really interesting comments about that, because I think that's important. I don't think the bridge was designed to completely alter the sound of the instrument, right? It's maybe just to enhance it slightly, right? The extra mass on the bridge, and because you typically buy an instrument for a specific reason. You might want to alter it slightly, but a lot of people buy it because they like it. They like the sound of it, like the feel of it. Getting more about the tone in your playing specifically, Eric, like pick versus finger.
I used to do half. I would mostly do fingers, and Bobby Vega was the one that kind of showed me the whole plectrum thing. I'm a fan of the plucking thing, or the funk, whatever that is. But I started losing my picks, and I couldn't be bothered. Keeping them, so I just started using my nails. Like, it's just the fastest way to get to that tone.
I tell you, listen to your, just some of your live, performances and stuff. It's difficult to tell. I mean, the attack is right there. So. You don't seem to, where some players, when they go to a pick, there might be a little enhanced attack or something to it, or you can at least tell when you listen to it. Okay, that sounds like a plectrum. I don't hear that with your playing. It sounds, you have a really unique and excellent style. On your, just to talk about your gear for a second, what do you use for your live rig on stage?
To be quite frank, I'm an Aguilar.
Right.
I'm an Aguilar endorsee, so I use Aguilar amps. But here's the thing. Especially with a vintage P bass and trying to get tube sounds. I started using the Neural a couple years ago, the Neural DSP. And when I copied my amp and I A and B'd it, I'll be honest, I couldn't tell the difference.
Technology is getting so incredibly good. That's incredible. Yeah, I went to a modeler about a year ago. I was playing it through a 63 Deluxe for 35 years, and I made the change. And that was tough to do it like for a month or so. But then after tweaking it, I listened to recordings of these shows back, and nobody could tell the difference. So that's fascinating.
It's also bass is a bit easier to kind of replicate, just because it's so low. So I understand that. Sometimes I hear it. I mean, it's gotten better. So last 5 years has gotten so much better.
Yeah, I think for some people it's feel. I even more for sound. I think I found. But
some people it's air.
Right. Well, that's exactly moving air. Yeah, especially on bass. Right.
Sound wise, your ears can only perceive so much. The thing that you're talking about is actually air.
Right.
But at the same time, like I said, when I'm doing these festivals and then I plug in, and it just DIs out to the system anyway. I can't compete. It's all going in there anyway.
Exactly. As far as your live performance goes, now I just looking at the breadth of what you've done, at least so far, pretty diverse projects. I mean, it's what's one thing I love. I can't pinpoint a absolute specific genre here or there. Sounds like a lot of different influences, and it sounds like you like to play with a lot of different types of projects. That true?
I started, like I said, like Flea was such a great influence as a bass player, because he would just tell you
yeah, man, I listen to Miles, and I'm like, who? As a young kid,
Right.
I'm a big fan of like listening to someone I like and then going backwards. Like, who did they listen to?
Yeah, I know that part of your history and your experiences as a musical director, right? It looks like you are, some of the videos I've seen, you very much like to kind of direct what's happening, lead people on stage, right? Where'd you develop that kind of talent?
Of all the genres, different genres that I've played and done, regardless as a band of some sort. When I go into a project or I go play for a band or play for some artists, the first thing I do is I look around, see who's in charge, or am I supposed to follow? And if no one's doing it, then in my head, I guess it's me.
Great.
It was me listening first for a long time and seeing who's actually leading it. And some artists are really good, that leading their music. Some musicians are really good at this is where it's supposed to go. But sometimes everyone's just watching each other. And then when no one's leading, that's the natural, like, all right.
Well, you listen, right? It's all about playing well with others, right? So depending on the environment you're in, you can perceive it fast enough to understand, okay, this environment here, I don't need to be the leader in this, and I can be the spoke in the wheel. And then the other approach is still the spoke in the wheel, but I'm going to direct, maybe lead when needed, right?
Yeah. Well, in terms of genre as well, the question that you asked, that like, at least this current band that we started here in Nashville called the Moga Family Band, MOGA. Genre-wise, it's been interesting because it's just 6 people, at least in this instance, the spirit that I'm trying to encompass. It's like multifaceted, right? So mission-wise, let's use blues music as a foundation, right? And blues music to me was always this person giving their emotion as deep as they can. And that's what society and history called blues music. Right now, that genre, I think, is dying because there's a lot of old guards that say, that's not blues, or they decide what isn't or what is. Right. Same with jazz, with most genres.
Right.
My approach is, I'm just going to call it that. I'm just going to call it blues.
Right.
You may not think it is.
Right.
But I'm here at least wanting to grab that torch and want it to evolve forward rather than stay. When Miles started using electronic stuff with like Bitches Brewer, at that time people were like, what's this?
Yeah. I come from an old school, so I'm a big fan of the Grateful Dead, and I have to use that box, the jam band philosophy, because that's just what people like to call. Although sometimes I think that kind of doesn't quite give enough gravity to what some of these bands do. But to your point, I think there's a lot more to it there. And I think to your point too about blues and people maybe just purists that want to stay within that certain element. That's fine, right?
And again, like as we pursue this genre with if you have checked out our band, it's so mix of all these different musicians that play so differently. But in my head, I'm just trying to chase Lenny, man. I'm trying to chase Stevie Ray Vaughan's Lenny. That's all I'm trying to do. Like what was he going through? What was he feeling? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm chasing. And I think in a world that people will tell you what you should be, what you shouldn't be, I'm just going to say, this is what this is. I'm just going to say, this is what blues music sounds like right now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you have to have convictions of what you're playing, right? And feel good about it. And once you do, then I agree with you. You go out and do your thing. You can't worry about what people are actually calling it, what they're thinking, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
And I know that you have something going on in Nashville. You have almost kind of a players in the round, so to speak, where you have people come up, right? Well, tell us a little about that.
So that started mid-COVID. I started this event that called Pitch Meeting. So where that stems from in Australia, I was hosting jam sessions where house band people get up, they play Valerie and Superstition. But here in Nashville, around when I first moved here, when I was touring for an artist, and then COVID obviously slowed everything down.
Right.
But when stuff kind of opened up, I had this idea of like, imagine a jam session where there's a house band, but instead of covers, it's original music.
Wow. Right.
So people, and then people ask me, well, how's the artist going to teach the band the original songs? And my response is like, oh, we'll figure it out. And that's been 6 years of that. And I turned that into a nonprofit. I turned that into a nonprofit organization. We do that on Tuesday nights at the Analog in Nashville, Tennessee. It's been a staple here. That I'll be biased, obviously. The best open mic night in the world was that's in the US, was started by an Australian.
Now do they get on stage and just do it and kind of quickly say, okay, it's in the key of this and follow me? Okay, there's no like sitting backstage and working arrangements.
Well, it's fun. No, you can't because we're on the fly. It's live in front of people. Right. It's fun because I first got the spirit from every time I watch when I watch people perform, I'm like, oh, well, you're supposed to be good because that's this music you rehearse. I love seeing musicians where they're drowning. Yeah. Because then that will really define what kind of player they are.
I didn't quite understand, what are they doing here? And then somebody who's kind of explained to me, yeah, they're going somewhere else here now. And I go, where's it going? They go, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, that's the relationship you have with the void. And I'm a big fan of that. I love that so much that I don't know where Owen, our sax player, is going to go when he does this. I don't know what Jake wants to do, our guitarist, if I throw him this, but at the same time, like, that's kind of the spirit, at least of that night that we host called Pitch Meeting, that it's like, you don't know. I know you have a preconceived idea of what your song sounds like, but here it is. Try to pursue that with a 10-piece band.
Right. Wow.
I mean, try to see what that looks like with people backing you up on the spot, because it might go somewhere where you don't know, where you weren't prepared for it, and then it might be better.
I'm sure that some of that audience is made up of non-musicians as well, so they must understand. They must understand, even though they may not understand exactly how you got there. They understand what they're witnessing. Wow, these guys have never done this. They haven't played together before. This is incredible.
Nashville's so good at having a system. It's the cog in the machine.
Right.
At least I just wanted to create something I wanted. And I think you asked as well, where you're like, if you had advice for a younger musician.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think, well, there's so many advices that I can think of, but one of them would be like, just create what you like,
Right.
Like
you have to have passion about it. Right.
Yeah. You're the first fan. If you're not a fan, you don't make it.
So I'm just curious too, because the people I've interviewed so far, Rudy Sarzo, Freddie Washington, these guys, obviously one common thread that comes between it is they played a lot. I'm guessing your passion is probably almost from the beginning, right? You play a lot.
I had this dream or vision or whatever you want to call it. And I go, one day we're going to do this really big gig and I'm going to give you guys a set list and it's going to be empty. And they laughed at me because they're like, that's what we're doing now. That's what it is, right?
Right. So you're fulfilling your dream.
But what's fun about that actually is we're letting the crowd dictate where it goes.
Where it goes. Yep.
They decide. Like, it changes the dynamic. If it's raining, if it's gloomy, if are we near the ocean? I don't know. Who knows?
Right.
And I think that comes from, that comes from hours and hours, or I don't even know what's the total length of playing now.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, I look at it as a vocabulary, and all those, I know there's that 10,000 hour rules people talk about. If you play, to be a professional, you got to put 10,000 hours. I don't know exactly what that time limit is for musicians, but I do feel like the people that have really put the work in and just spent, their life playing, the vocabulary is so extensive that when they get into situations like you're talking about, where it's just, okay, no set list, and we're going to feel the energy of the place, and we're going to call tunes out. You feel comfortable enough to jump into the pool and have something to say, right?
Yeah, it's also trusting, but there's one more aspect of that. It's also trusting the musicians around you that, of course, they're willing to jump in that void with you.
Right.
And some of the best playing I've ever heard is right next to the players I play with, just right in front of them, throwing them something,
right,
and then they just throw back magic.
Right, absolutely. I know. Even my wife years ago told me that. She said, "You're so lucky." And I said, "Why?" I mean, other being married to her. She said, "Because you have something that you love so much that is so personal to you that you can tell when you get on stage and you play. There's so much joy that you and
Yeah.
a lot of people struggle their whole lives to find something like that. So
most things in this world is a zero-sum game. It eventually leads back, whatever. Like think of your coffee, the coffee you got from Starbucks. Well, someone had to grab those coffee beans, and then before that, someone had to start that. Whatever. It goes back, and then someone loses something.
right,
Right. But music, or at least art, but especially music, because you're seeing it at the moment. Like it's one of the only things where it's 1 + 1 = 3.
right, right. It's an
That's the
intangible,
best
right?
way I can
Yeah, that's
best way I can
exactly
explain
right.
it.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough today, Eric, for joining us. I know it's all that stuff you have going on and traveling and stuff. Do you want to tell your fans what you have coming up? I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I think it was breaking up. So where are you heading off to now? One more time.
So the Moga Family Band right now is heading to Floyd Fest. It's in Virginia, in Floyd, Virginia. We are currently on our nationwide tour. We were in California a couple of weeks ago, but we have a few more dates around the Midwest before the end of the year, before we also release our record.
Excellent.
But yeah, that's us. It's a little humble band in Nashville, Tennessee, pursuing what it looks like to be a band.
You guys are awesome. Everything I've seen, you guys sound great. So that's great.
Thank you so much for hitting us up and making time, and
of course
want to see the story of it all and see where it came from.
You're truly a badass. We're excited to have you on here, and I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye on what you're doing going forward, and hope to be talking to you soon.
Yeah, we'll love to meet you guys in person. We'll love to.
Absolutely.
We'll find time.
Absolutely. I'll love to meet up. So, all right. Have a great, safe trip.
Thank you.
Hope to see you.
Thank you, Gary.
Take care, Eric. Bye now.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I want to thank Eric Fortaleza for joining us today on Who's a Badass and sharing his story, especially while being on the road. I also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Enrique Rodriguez. He's our social media marketing and collaborations manager, and I'm the one who just asked the questions here. He's the one who really makes these sound and look great. So big shout out and thank you to Enrique. And as always, if you enjoy the video series, please hit the like and subscribe button. See you soon.